All right, first ever Rituals Podcast. So, kind of my idea here is what I was looking to do was kind of find a way to share some people I've met along my journey, their martial art experience, and it's a way for us to kind of like get in touch with people that normally wouldn't hear our story. And I think I just want it to be kind of something where it's like we can kind of inspire others on their journey and give insight to our own journeys ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited since this is our first podcast. I have a very special guest, which is Gianni Subba. I just want to get some of this stuff right. Gianni Subba is an MMA flyweight contender for one championship, sporting a record of 9-3. He also does color commentary for the promotion and recently opened Soma Fight Club in Bali, Indonesia.
That's a very official opening. So honored to be here. You know, man, we've been together for a minute. Cool to like come back and like start working together, man. I'm excited about this journey.
Yeah, man. It's great. I'm really excited too. All right, so how did you get first started in martial arts?
You know, what's crazy? I was never into martial arts, and my uncle was a black belt in karate. Like idolized Bruce Lee, so my mom used to always talk about him like punching the wall, bare fist, like hardening his like knuckles. And to me, when I was like 6 years old, it wasn't that exciting. You know?
Yeah.
The thought of punching the wall with my bare hands is like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Right.
So I never got into it until I was 9 years old. When we finally had like this little taekwondo thing right below we used to live in this condominium back in Malaysia or KL. And my mom's like, nah, you guys are going. All three of us is my sister, my brother who's now a professional fighter as well, Keanu, and me. Started doing taekwondo when I was 9 years old. And then I never stopped, bro. Just from 9 years old to then, just always training.
Yeah, and you know, that brought up an interesting thought for me as well, too. Is like, I also started off with like really traditional martial arts. I started doing like Hapkido when I was like 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, how do you think those traditional martial arts turn into vehicles for combat sports?
Man, to me, like, when I look at what taekwondo gave to me was like that structured sense of discipline, that respect, and that kind of like how everyone's equal.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of drew me into martial arts, but I think just the respect, the discipline, and all those like values that martial arts teaches you, you know, that helped me. Like, that's the reason I fight. Like,
Yeah.
When I fight, like, obviously the biggest thing for me was, I want to be a world champion. I wanted to be a world champion.
Right.
Now my goals have shifted, but for me, was always about challenging myself, like doing things the right way, you know, because I always grew up like that, doing martial arts. My dad used to always send me messages like, you know how like the one championship has that slogan like honor, integrity, respect, all that stuff.
Right.
Like that shit was what my dad told me every single day. Like, so it wasn't new to me. So I brought that from martial arts. Like, kind of helped me like want to challenge myself in that way.
Right. So it really helped you shape like a martial art mindset that you could apply to all areas of your life.
Yeah. If you that's what it is. Like, if you work hard, you dedicate yourself, you can hit your goal.
Right.
And I think that's what drew me back into it always. If I rededicate myself no matter where I am, something good always happens from it.
Absolutely. Staying on that path, right?
Yeah, exactly, man.
Okay, so when did you start transitioning from a traditional martial art into more like a combat sport?
I think when I was 13 years old and I first started The Ultimate Fighter, it was the very first season, the one with Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture.
Yep.
And I saw it, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe that they were doing this. And that was just like, obviously from Taekwondo, you get to like, you go fight, but you can't really punch to the head. Even though you can kick people in the head, you can knock them out still. It's that next level of kind of hand-to-hand combat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So many disciplines gelled into one. I saw that, I was like, wow, I want to do that. So I started training after that, just fucking around with my brother. Like, we started like throwing gloves on our hands. Like, we had fucking 6 pairs of gloves, not gloves, but socks.
Oh, yeah.
Six socks together in our hands, and we just punch each other. Like, so many chipped teeth from that.
Wow.
So that's how I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So was that the first time you saw MMA? Was watching that first season of Ultimate Fighter?
The first season of Ultimate Fighter when I was 13 years old. That was like the entry for me. And then obviously I went into like this big wormhole like Pride and K1.
Yep.
Fedor, like all that. I just went nerd. I remember when I was 13 years old, I was in this computer class watching Chuck Liddell highlights. 13 years old. Nobody could get why I was watching that. You're like, what are you doing? Why are you watching? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell just knocking people out, kicking them in the head. And that was like my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right on. So when did you want to start like training amateurly for a fight?
So when I moved to the States when I was 15 years old, I started I always wanted to compete, you know. So ever since I was 13, that was like, oh, cool, I want to try it, you know.
Yeah.
So I moved to the States when I was 15 from Malaysia. Started wrestling a little bit. Bought a pair of gloves just from Walmart, like $11 gloves. And the same thing, me and my brother just punch each other every day. And then, transitioned. I found a gym in Utah. I was in Utah at the point. It was actually a Krav Maga gym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because my friend was going there. And he was the only one of my friends that was training.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I want to go there. You know?
Yeah.
Training every day, me and him. And then I stopped going. But I was there every day, like 3 times a day. Like 3 sessions a day right after school. And you couldn't like pull me away from the gym.
Right.
And then I stopped going because I couldn't pay for it.
Right.
And then the instructor, after a month, was like, yo, where's your friend? He told my friend Tai Ho, who's like, really took care of me when I was in Utah because I just moved there. You know the story, how I moved there by myself with my brother.
Yeah.
But that ended up, I'm going off in this long story here.
Go, bro, go.
We ended up, he brought me back in, was like, hey, don't worry about paying. You saw like I was training every day. Just come and train because, you know, they like me there. And I kept going there. Like when I was 18 years old, I left. Because in the States, if you want to fight MMA, you gotta be 18 years old.
Yeah.
Or you need like a parental sign off.
Right.
I didn't have that because my parents weren't there.
Right.
So I never ended up fighting in Malaysia. But then I had my first amateur fight in Malaysia. Yeah.
So let's go just back for a second because I think that's like a really interesting part of it makes you who you are. Is like you and your brother. You were 15 at the time.
Yeah, I was 15 and he was just turned 14.
And you guys moved to America by yourselves.
Yeah. Well, my mom moved there with us. I kind of got us settled in. We were in this 1-bedroom place, kind of far. I take the bus every day, like 40 minutes to school, which is not that bad. I don't want to sound like I'm fucking spoiled. But then my mom left after 2 months because like she wasn't like feeling it. She wasn't happy. It's like,
right.
No, go. I told her I was 15. I was like, go home. I
Amazing.
got this, you know. I got this, and then that's how like we ended up staying, just me and my brother, for like the whole duration of high school.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
How do you think that experience shaped you and Keanu?
That's a very interesting question. Utah was a very important part of my life because when I was there, all my friends were Mormon. So I kind of was raised, I guess my teenage years was raised around like that culture.
Right.
And like those set of values and ethics and whatnot.
Right.
So I was always in a straight path. Like I wasn't like doing nothing crazy. Like obviously I would get into fights here and there, but nothing really that bad, you know. Like I didn't even drink while I was in high school. And yeah, it just made me have to like grow up a little bit to make sure like because I understood when I was 15 years old, flying a kid to the States is not an easy thing. And my mom and dad like, you know, had some issues back then. So I was like, yeah, I want to do what I can to make this as easy as possible for them. I started like working. I worked at this pretzel place. I was doing like landscaping with my friend, you know, just working for the money, you know. And I remember like one time it was senior year of high school, and it was prom. I really wanted to take this girl. But I didn't have that much money, so me and my boys, we started going to this blood plasma center.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah,
Blood plasma center, you go there, and, you know, blood plasma is really crucial for people, burn victims, you know, it really helps with the recovery process. So if you're healthy, you can go there, you can donate blood, and they'll spin it, and they'll take your blood plasma, and they'll pay you for it, of course.
Right.
So I started doing that. I was getting paid like $75 per time, but you only do it like once or twice a month. And I paid that off with prom. So I don't know. I guess Utah just, in a sense, made me more independent.
Yeah.
Like, to like work for what I have. Kind of take care of like people around me as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it helped shape your work ethic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Made you grow up fast.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that definitely applied to like your martial arts career too, because you took like a lot of personal responsibility and things early on, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me a little bit more about that amateur fight. So you left America, you finished high school, and now you fly back to Malaysia, where you were born, where you grew up, and now you're.
I was born in Hawaii.
Oh, born in Hawaii. That's right.
Yeah,
I forget about that.
I was born in Hawaii.
That's
the reason I went back to Hawaii, because I wanted to go back to where I was born and just to like live there.
That's cool.
Yeah, but the amateur fight.
Yeah.
I flew back to Malaysia because I was in Hawaii at the time doing a year at university. And that's where it kicked off for me because the whole time I was in high school, I was doing these accelerated business classes like marketing and accounting, just college-based classes so you get more credits when you get into college.
Right.
Because I always thought, my mom said you go do some business, you know how it is.
Yeah.
So I did like those advanced classes, like spent all my time doing that, get into college, had like so how many credits already ahead. But when I got there, my brother was back in Malaysia because he moved back. Because my cousin at the time was really ill with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he flew back to Malaysia first. And then he started training full time with the team that they had at the moment. It wasn't a big team, but it was the best that they had at the time. Matt Polino was there as well. I think that was actually after. But besides the point, he started like fighting. He was actually, Keanu, the first sanctioned MMA fight in Malaysia.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that.
He was the first sanctioned MMA fight in Malaysia. It was amateur, like obviously he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
He fought this guy that was I don't know 35 or 37. And he got paid like $200 ringgit, which was like I don't know, $45 or something like that.
Amazing.
And then went on his pro record, but that's another story.
Yeah.
And then after that he got approached by this promotion. I don't know if you remember Dare.
No.
Dare's,
yeah, a little. I remember the name, but I don't remember a lot
Dare's
of the fights.
like one of like the OG like small Bangkok shows.
Yeah.
And they wanted to give him a contract.
Mm.
And my brother told me, like, in my head, I was in Hawaii at the time. I was working like 19 hours, 20 hours a week just to pay for school.
Yeah.
Wasn't really training because the closest gym was like an hour and a half away by bus.
Mm.
So I was just lifting every day. And then I hear this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm going off on tangent. This was after.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull back a little bit.
Okay.
So before Hawaii, I went back to Malaysia for the summer after high school in Utah. I jumped a little bit of the timeline.
Yeah. That's okay. Just go with it, bro.
I'm sorry.
Don't be
people.
sorry.
I'm sorry. So, after senior year of high school, I went back to Malaysia. And I wanted to fight. I was 18 years old. And at the time, this gym called Muay Fit. I know you probably heard of Muay Fit. It's like this gym in Malaysia. And they had like this. I messaged them because I was 18 years old. I was young. I was like, I want to fight somebody.
Yeah.
I messaged them, hey, do you guys... So I was on Instagram. I'm not Instagram, Facebook. Hey, do you guys have anybody for me to fight? I'm looking to fight.
Yeah.
Like an amateur fight. I didn't say amateur fight. Like just fight.
Yeah.
And then they sent me a list because they were running these tournaments like twice a year. And they have these tournaments and you call like the champion of the MMA champion.
Yep.
The level wasn't high. And I picked the biggest guy, I remember, of all of the list. And I picked the biggest guy. It's 84 kilos.
Oh, wow.
And then he had just won. Like, he wasn't, like, the most skilled, but he was big. And it was like, oh, you know what? I want to fight that guy.
Yeah.
So I trained. Like, obviously, I have no concept of, like, a camp. So I'm
Right.
just sprinting every day, hitting pads, doing some, like, rolling with my brother. And when we get to the fight, this guy's massive.
How much do you weigh at the time?
I was probably, like, 65, 64.
All right.
Small. But
Yeah.
obviously, in my head, I was way bigger.
Yep.
So that's how I got into my first amateur fight. Got to a gym. It was this Kung Fu seminar going on. And I remember he was, I don't remember the name, but they called him Sifu, you know? Obviously, Sifu.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously now, like, now that I've been in martial arts a little bit longer, if anyone's called Sifu, you gotta be like a little sus, you know?
Yeah, right.
There was a seminar with this Sifu. And I remember being in the back warming up, there was a little cage. There's maybe like 15, 20 people max in the gym.
Yeah.
And the Sifu was like crossed arms, laying on the chair, looking unimpressed. I'm like, bro, who the fuck is this guy? Besides the point,
Yep.
that was like something that stood out in my mind.
Yep.
I fought this guy. First round, bro, I thought I was ready, you know, because I've been training for a while. You know, when you have your first fight, everything goes out the window, first fight. I didn't even land like one punch in the first round. Like, I tried to throw a head kick, and this guy storms me, going for the double leg, take him down. Like, my jiu-jitsu worked at the time, which was fucking... saved me, you know, because this guy was huge.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's besides the point. I ended up like winning the fight in the third round. But after that, like, I was so gassed. And I kind of like, you know, when you're so tired, you don't even celebrate. Kind of like pass it out.
Yeah.
But after that, I was hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was my first amateur fight. My only amateur fight ever.
How'd you finish him?
It was a rear naked choke in the third round. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu.
One hand, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, one hand.
Amazing.
We had like the big gloves on.
Yeah.
And I somehow took him down. I got into him out. I was like beating him up. He turned. I got into the back. And I get this rear naked choke, but he's pulling on my backhand.
Yep.
And I turned my arm up and I used my head
Oh,
to
no
go
way.
in. Yeah, and I finished it.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's actually funny, you know, like in the second round, I got this super tight armbar. I'll send you the video.
Yeah.
And then you can hear my brother, who's probably like 17 years old at the
Yeah.
time, maybe even like 17, 18. And you hear him yell, "Snap it! Snap it!" It's just me and him in the gym, like fighting this guy, and he's yelling at me to snap this kid's arm. Like, we've always been down for fighting, you know.
Yeah.
That was like amateur fight.
So what year was this?
It had to be 2011, 2010,
Yeah.
something like that.
So like Ultimate Fighter, that's the Ultimate Fighter we were talking about. That was like maybe like 2005, 2006. I'm guessing, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But it was pretty early. This is still very early in like the development of MMA.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because
yeah.
like prior to that, like if you people that like don't watch MMA at home, you're not really familiar with like the history of MMA. Like this is really like transitional. Like 5 years after MMA is just even being well known. It's like now becoming MMA from an HB.
Yeah.
And like this is really early days, especially in Asia. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like you guys are really kind of like you said, your brother's
Yeah.
like super grassroots as well. He was first sanctioned bout in Malaysia. That's crazy when you think about it, you know?
Yeah, it is.
And just like you guys are, all these people that are kind of fighting at this time were like early pioneers in Asia. Like it took a while for the scene to kind of grow out here to what it is today. So kind of talk about your transition now from going from amateur to professional, and where was that professional organization you were fighting for first?
Yeah. So after the amateur fight, I left, went back to Hawaii, did that year at university I was telling you about, and then my brother got approached by Dare, so I jumped that. So that was that. And then in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm in school right now. I had to take up a loan after my first semester because I had the scholarship the first semester. I remember being pulled into the bank or the front office, whatever you call the one in university where they pull you in.
Right.
And they were like, hey, look, this is the amount for the next semester. If you don't pay it, then you can't stay here.
Mm.
And how crazy is that? You
Yeah.
know, like a kid, I'm just here like trying to get an education.
Right.
Then they tell me, hey, if you don't pay for it, you got to bounce. Like, where do I go to? I was born here, you know?
Yeah.
So I went to the bank, took out this, like, I don't know, like how many $1,000 loan for that one semester. And that was like the catalyst for me leaving as well, because I thought in my head, like, well, that's one semester. I got to do another 2.5 years. How much more money do I got to take out?
Right.
Or why don't I, well, the whole time I was there, I was thinking about fighting and, like, seeing what I can do with it. And I made a deal with my mom, because I was working for myself anyway. I was working, paying for school. I told her, hey, I know you want me to finish school, but here's what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to save up some money. I'm going to buy my own ticket back. Give me, like, 2 years. If I fight and I'm terrible at it, okay, you know, I fucking give it a shot or go back to school. Like, that was, like, my promise to my mom, because, you know, Asian families, there's that whole education first and then your dreams later.
Yep.
If ever. You
Yep.
know? So I was like, okay. I told this to her, bought my ticket back, and then I started training full time. Like, I was there. Me and my brother were there Monday to Sunday, no days off, training 3 times a day, like 2-3 times a day, every day.
Yep.
Because that's what I wanted to do, you know. Like,
Right.
I never complained. And then I was there back in Malaysia for, I think it was like 7 months, 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Training hard, because we knew we wanted to fight for the biggest promotion in Asia. Is still one.
Right.
This is like the developing stages as well, but it's still like I saw it was on TV, like national stadium, like I want to be there, you know.
Right.
So me and my brother had this plan. We're gonna fight in Malaysia or Singapore, wherever it is. We get a couple like amateur local region fights.
Yep.
And then hopefully we get into one.
Yep.
So we train, and me and him both were supposed to have this fight in JB, which is the border town from Malaysia to Singapore.
Right.
And then our fights pulled out because apparently, and I know some people said, don't fight us because we know how to fight a little bit.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a fight anymore. And then I got a call from Samir because I was training at this gym at the time, Onagi. He's like, hey, One Championships approached me. They're looking for a fighter for 57 kilos, fighting a Singaporean guy in Singapore at the Singapore Indoor Stadium, which is, I don't know, 10,000, 15,000 seats. It's the biggest indoor stadium in Singapore.
Right.
And this is me going from fighting in front of 20 people.
Yeah.
My next fight was directly into that.
Wow.
I didn't think about that at all. My first thought process is, what championship do you want to fight? Boom, yes.
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So, yeah, that's how I got into professional fighting. I signed this deal with One, which is not the greatest contract, but it wasn't my fault because obviously maybe it is my fault. But I was 19 years old and I didn't know. I didn't have a manager. Signed that fight, trained, and then I went to Thailand. That's where I met like the other boys, the Bali MMA boys.
Yeah.
And there's this decision between Tiger Muay Thai or Phuket Top Team, which is like obviously, me and Keanu were younger, we always used to watch like those Tiger Muay Thai training videos. Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
I used to
like,
watch those too.
Bro,
Yeah.
because that was the only destination gym at that time.
Yeah.
So me and him was like, yo, how cool would it be if we went to Thailand and trained? Not thinking about this at all.
Yeah.
And here I am when I was 19 years old, yeah. Flew to Thailand my first time, and I picked Phuket top team. I don't know why, but it was this one video actually of, actually I remember now. It was this one video of Andrew and Barry Robinson. I don't know if you know Barry Robinson.
Boxing coach, right?
Boxing coach.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of, like, to me, if you watch Barry Robinson videos and you understand the game, the way he breaks it down, Barry Robinson is like the top of the top. The way he breaks it down and makes you understand. But you got to be like jiu-jitsu nerd. Like, you got to be like a striking nerd to be into it.
Yeah.
Because he really breaks it down. Like, no bullshit. Like, you're not going to tell you moves. He's going to tell you the why and
conceptual.
when.
He's
yeah,
conceptual.
the why and the
teacher.
when, you know.
Yeah.
Why, the when, the how. So there was that video, and I saw these two guys training, and I liked it because there's another smaller guy and a great striking coach. And obviously they had Olavo as well, who I didn't know of. I knew about, but I didn't know him at the time.
Right.
It's like jiu-jitsu black belt, Carlson Gracie from Brazilian top team. I was like, oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked Phuket top team. Went there, I think it was a 3-week camp, short camp. Didn't know nothing about nutrition. Was living at the gym. No carbs every day. Smashing through 3 practices. Just getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Getting fucked up. Like, the worst camp ever. In terms for me, like, just getting beat up. Obviously, I learned a lot. But I just felt terrible the whole camp. But the knowledge that I got from that camp was, like, so crucial for me. Because I learned how to fight. Obviously, technically, I learned the technical aspects. And just being, like, was it really what I wanted to do thing, you know?
Right.
Because I think that the first weekend, like, one point I remember sitting in front of a mirror. Because in the gym rooms, so this was the rooms here, there was a set of rooms.
Right.
And directly in front of the rooms was the ring.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the top team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was staying in one of those. I remember after one of the practices, it got beat up. Obviously, like, I fight. Like, I'm not cowering away. Like, obviously, I go with it.
Yep.
Sit back in the room. There's a mirror in front of the door. You close the door. There's a mirror right behind it. I sit down in the chair. I'm looking at this mirror. It's like, damn. Is this really for me? You know? Kind of like questioning it.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a point where, imagine if I said no, this wasn't for me, you know?
Right.
Where would I be now?
Yeah. So
How
that was
crazy.
a pivotal moment for you.
That was a pivotal moment for me,
Yeah.
man. Like, it wasn't easy. And then I said, fuck it, you know, let's see, like, what we do. Like, I said I was going to do it. I'm going to back out, like, first day in.
Yeah.
So I made the weight, you know. I lost, I think, 7 kilos. First time in my life ever doing that. But not the right way, obviously.
Right.
I didn't eat carbs. Like, I didn't eat no sugars. Felt terrible. And then went to this one championship fight.
Yeah.
Made the weight. First time ever cutting weight.
Yeah.
It was a mission. But the cool thing was, and that card was huge for me. The first card I fought on for one had 2 title belts on the line.
Yeah.
It was there was Shin Yaoki, who I've seen on highlights. There was Melvin Manhoff, who I've been watching like highlights since I was a kid.
Absolutely.
Like, all these like animals in the card, and this is my first fight. You know what's funny? I cut weight with Melvin Manhoff.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I gotta hear about that.
He walks in. Obviously, he's a unit, you know. He just brick wall comes in, and I'm over here. I got like 3 kilos to lose. I'm dying. He asked me like, yo, how many kilos you got? I said, 3 kilos. I was like, oh, not bad. I was like, you? 9 kilos.
Oh,
I'm like, what the fuck, bro? This is like 24 hours out.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? How is this even possible?
Yeah.
In my head, it's like, he's not making weight.
Yeah.
He's not making weight. And all of a sudden, we're cutting weight. He had a towel on, and then everyone's cutting weight.
Yeah.
There was only one like steam room, so everyone from the car was cutting weight together, which was to me pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
I thought you would have your own like. Imagine if people
space.
just started fighting in there, you know?
Yeah.
It'd be-
I'm sure it's happened.
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened. So in my head, is like, this is not. Is it normal?
Right.
But anyways, fucking Melvin Manhoff starts walking around butt naked.
Yep.
Starts not giving a fuck. So
Yep.
no one gonna say anything because it's Melvin Manhoff and he fucking gonna drop anyone there.
Right.
So we all just don't say anything about it. And then me, him, and my opponent were actually the last 3 to make weight. And I remember Melvin Manhoff was like, oh, he was putting ice in his feet, going to the bathroom, like putting his feet in the ice.
Yeah.
And I said, that helps him pee. He's like, yeah, it helps you pee. You try it next time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, I go in the bathroom, put my feet in some ice, and like,
Yeah.
oh, I peed, you know. After that, I was like, yo, thank you, man. So that's one thing I took away from Melvin Manhoff, you know. If you guys ever tried this feet in the ice thing, credit Melvin Manhoff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think it's really interesting too. It's like along your martial arts journey, you have these kind of like, at the time, like hero or legendary kind of people come in just for a moment. You get like a brief moment with them, and it gives you that little boost that like you're on the right track, right?
For sure, man.
So how did that first fight go?
It went really well, you know. Again, I went from fighting in front of 20 people and to 10,000 or 15,000 people. For me, like the whole walkout process of it was like a dream. Like the whole me experiencing that moment, I had no concept of.
Yeah.
So when I was going through it, it was like, what, you know, it was happening so fast.
Yeah.
Walked out, had my own walkout music. There's people cheering, people booing because I was fighting this guy in Singapore. Walking out into the cage and them locking it. And you know, like when you're nervous, your mouth fucking gets dry.
Yeah.
I had the whole dry mouth thing going on. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is real. This is happening.
Yeah.
I get out there and bang, I remember we start the fight. I jump out because I'm like excited, you know.
Yeah.
You have like, I've had one amateur fight, so
Yeah.
I knew how to fight a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Like a little concept of like range. And at the time, I was obviously sparring with better guys already.
Yeah.
But I come out and it was pretty back and forth. The fight didn't last long. It was 30 seconds. Like, fortunately, he stepped in. I hit him with a check hook. And
I've seen that check hook.
And then I kick him in the head after.
Yep.
And I finished the fight. And for me, like, that was like, all right, you know, like, I fucking staked it.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I'm going to fucking try it.
Yep.
And that was like me opening the door for myself.
Yep.
Like, I knew that fight for me was like a door opener. If I lost that fight, forever it would be, oh, you're the guy, fight for one, you're going to come in and get canned, you know?
Right.
So for me, like, I was like, there's no way I'm losing that fight.
And instead, your fight ended up being like on every like ONE FC highlight video for like years, you know?
Which was crazy, man. I was really grateful for that moment. Obviously, I worked really hard for it, but yeah, that's how I opened the door. The door opened for me.
And just to kind of give you all some perspective too, like Gianni was fighting when they still allowed soccer kicks. I think now they moved away and there's no more soccer kicks, right?
More soccer kicks.
And like it was just such a different era. So like if you got knocked down on the floor, you could kick the guy in the face. And this is something that's like now no longer illegal in the rule system.
Only in Japan, it's still legal.
Oh, it's still legal in Japan.
Verizon still allows stomps and soccer kicks.
Oh, stomps as well. Stomps are brutal.
Stomps are brutal.
Yeah. So how do you feel about everyone kind of moving more towards like unified rules? Do you think it's better?
For sure. First of all, I don't want to ever get kicked in the head like that on the ground. So
right.
I'm happy to take that away. For sure. I thought it was going to come back to me because I kicked 2 guys in the head like that. So
yep.
Glad that's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, to me, obviously, with the growth of the sport, more eyes on it, you want it to be more palatable, you know?
Right.
And no matter what, fighting is the purest form of, like, fighting, you know, MMA.
Right.
But if you put stomps and soccer kicks in there, then it kind of does look a little bit like a street fight, you know? Like, no rules. Like, no matter what, if you have a referee there, you seeing someone getting stomped in the face, nah, you got to, like, pull him off, you know, like stand up, you know,
yeah.
whatever, like do your jiu-jitsu, you're trying to pass the guard.
Right.
Then it's more of an art versus that brutality, which is also fairly exciting sometimes, you know, you want to see that too.
For sure. I think I remember them looking at statistics from Pride, and whenever someone got rocked and then they got stomped on, they were never responsive when they were getting stomped on. So that's part of the reason they moved away from it.
Okay.
Is because, like, literally people weren't even protecting themselves already. So as soon as the stomps came in, it was over.
Yeah.
Soccer kicks, I think, were kind of on the line a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's like, we want fighters to intelligently defend themselves. And I think it's why it moved in that direction, which is overall better for the sport, you know? So I think it was the right thing to do when it went that way, you know?
Oh, come on, you enjoyed it too.
Oh, absolutely. I I love those soccer kick knockouts, you know?
Who's your favorite Pride fighter?
Ooh, that's a loaded question, man. Kazushi Sakuraba?
Yeah?
Yeah, without a question, man.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah, because, like, for me, it was, you know, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy first. I love MMA as well. But to kind of watch him kind of go through and, like, dismantle the Gracie family was, like, really powerful and stuff. Because, like, I started learning about the Gracies first and was, like, really blown away by them. But then this guy came in and was kind of picking them apart with his own method.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, you know, he was such a humble guy, too, which was something that was, like, really interesting about Sakuraba that I really, like, pulled away from. And that inspired me also, like, just that persona he had was really cool, you know? And then, the fight with Hoist is legendary, you know? They fight for like an hour and a half or something like that. It's powerful. How about you? You have a favorite Pride fighter?
Shogun, man. I used to always love Shogun.
Absolutely.
Just how aggressive he was. Never cared. Could grapple. Could do jiu-jitsu. He was the man. Him and Wanderlei. Like, how do you beat him?
Yeah, man. Watching shootbox guys was just next level, you know?
Yeah.
So, looking back on your fight career, what fights held the biggest lessons for you?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Biggest lessons. That's a good one. I don't know. I think that fight with Gayhead that you were at.
Yeah.
That fight with Gayhead where you were at. It was one of Ben Askren's first fight for signing with one.
Yeah.
So and I got offered to fight Gayhead, who's like one of the biggest like Filipino stars at the time, as a co-main event.
Yeah.
But I think it was 7 kilos or 9 kilos heavier than what I usually fought at. So I fought at 57 at the time, and they offered me to fight at 66 kilos.
Okay.
And in my head, at the time, I think it was like 7-1. And I wanted to fight Gayhead, but I wanted to fight for the title, you know?
Yeah.
But that fight I took because I saw a co-main event in Manila under Ben Askren, you know, and I took that fight. And I didn't have the greatest camp, man. I think my brother wasn't there, and I only had like 2 guys, but they weren't really like that great of level. I didn't have a striking coach at the time. It was just, I don't want to talk shit, but when I look back at that fight and when I watch the fight again, it's like, how did I not game plan for one weapon, you know? I got hit with the same right kick over and over again. How did I not prepare for that?
Right.
Yeah, and obviously as well, like, I was a little bit hesitant. There's many factors going into that fight, but with that fight, I realized I lost the decision with that one. I just didn't fight well. I felt like I was 2 steps behind. And just so many factors went into it. I'm not making excuses. He was the better man that night.
Right.
But what I learned from that is you need fighting at that level. When I was 7-1, that one win would have put me in front to a title shot, you know?
Right.
I needed a camp that was more focused on helping me get there. And I'm not saying like who's in the wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm saying if I look back at that now, because how I learned this is with that fight with Jingnan and Angela Lee, you know, like, and her winning that title.
Yeah.
Defending her belt. We did so many small things, you know, like we did so many small things. We drilled every day with the jiu-jitsu, with the wrestling, with the striking. And that's what I needed, you know, going into that fight. So when I look back at that fight when I was 7-1, I needed that for me to get to where I wanted to go. And I didn't have that. So I learned, in that time, like, I learned that it wasn't enough to just train hard. You need to train hard and train smart. Yeah. Like, you needed to be smart about it, because that's what separates you from being a champion, you know? Yeah. Like, they prepare for every possible scenario, and I didn't. I trained hard, but I didn't have structure behind my training. Right. Like, in terms of, like, how do we strengthen our strengths and obviously, like, try to negate our weaknesses. Not negate, but, like, what's the word?
I think it would be like, I think you're right. I think it's strengthen, right? Like we want to protect our weaknesses, maybe.
Yeah, protect the weaknesses and strengthen your strengths. Yeah. And I think I didn't do it like that. So that one for me was a big learning curve. Yeah. Yeah, but after that, I strung a couple wins together and got back up. But I like that one. That one for me was like a big learning moment for me.
Yeah, I remember too, because like, I mean, I was very fortunate to get to be there for that too.
Yeah, you were there too.
And I remember being there at the press conference beforehand, like the day before, where you guys are just chatting, or where you guys are kind of talking and going through your mentalities and all this stuff, and the stuff Gayhe was saying and the stuff you were saying. I could just tell this was going to be like a really amazing fight. You know what I mean? For both of you. I could see it was like, I saw like 2 young fighters kind of getting ready to transition into like the next level of their careers, and they were both super hungry for it, you know? Yeah. And like, I remember that too. It's like, I think, you know, looking back at that time, like learning also me being a coach at the time, like learning together of like how we need to structure things for fighters so they're prepared for fights. It's like it's also even on my end as a coach a big learning curve to have someone kind of going through that transition of, you know, being co-main event, making sure they have everything they need to have, be prepared and be ready, and you know, make sure that I'm doing everything on my side to make sure you're prepared for that moment, you know. And those are big learning moments for me too. Like I remember watching the fight and like seeing certain things that we could have done better, things we could do differently in the future. Those are just like, but those lessons are so valuable. Like still to this day, some things from like that fight I remember, and I'm like, all right, we need to make sure everyone I work with after this has to have this down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, like I took away from that the mentality of it as well. Like I cannot go in and be like, oh, I gotta worry about him and that. Like you just gotta go in and fight. Like I think because I was so unprepared in the striking department, I kind of like didn't fire as much. Sometimes sometimes you gotta just fucking throw down, you know, as well.
Yeah, you just gotta go.
Well, you just gotta go.
Just let it out.
Yeah, and I didn't like. But I learned from that. Like after that, I never had a fight like that again.
Yeah.
But you know, we learn.
We do.
Yeah, that's what makes us better.
Absolutely. Any other fights that like had really big life lessons? I like that you kind of touched on like the camp stuff too, because I know now both of us being coaches, sometimes we can really look back at like our experiences on like where things went wrong in camp, and then we make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes with our students now as we move forward, you know?
Yeah. Well, one that really stands out for me was my last fight. My last fight in KL, you know, it was my first main event fight. And like for me, like that was exciting because me growing up, I would have never imagined being like main event in my hometown, biggest indoor stadium in Malaysia.
Yep.
So that moment was cool for me. But I partially tore my ACL maybe like 5 weeks out from that fight. So I couldn't do a lot of jiu-jitsu. Again, like that's just me, like hungry.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm gonna just go because I don't know, like, if I don't fight this fight, when the next fight's gonna be, you know? Like I got this fight, same thing. But that's the part of fighting. You gotta risk it, you know? You can't like have those opportunities and not take it.
Right.
But I took that fight and I was supposed to fight Danny King who's a fucking weapon.
Yeah.
I think he's like number 2, number 3 in the division right now. But I took that fight. I got late replacement notice to jump into main event versus Reese, who's a super talented grappler, still one of the most talented grapplers in the division. And I didn't grapple for 5 weeks before that.
Yeah.
Which was already like, you know, like maybe not the best move, you know, against like a grappler that will go for the finish, you know. But in my head, same thing. I trusted like me being able, like I threw it 50-50, you know. Okay, cool. I'm not 100%, but I'm gonna go out there. I know if I land, I can finish him, you know. Like I trusted it, and you have to do that at that point because when you're training hard, the reality is you're going through an 8-week, 10-week camp, whatever. Yeah. You're gonna have injuries. For sure, you know. Yeah. And I jumped into that one, and it was my first main event. I got like, the billboards in like downtown KL had like the fight, you know, was huge for me. And in my head, you know, like I've obviously fought in KL before. I fought in bigger fights. I fought in a co-main event in Manila, co-main event. I've fought a co-main event in Cambodia. Yeah. So I've had like big fight experience. But when I got there, the energy was so different, you know. Kind of got like overwhelmed by it a little bit. Yeah. Like everyone just blowing you up. The energy was like next level, you know. Yeah. I think I kind of got like overwhelmed by it a little bit when I got in there. But I fought well. I fought really well. Like on the stand-up, if you watch the fight, he had his moments. I had my moments. I was feeling good. But yeah, I feel like same thing. Like I just think about my knee a little bit too much. I at some points when I watch back at the fight, when I went to plant and my leg like I would like kind of like pull off a little bit, shake off. It kind of threw me off that fight, but I still threw 100%. But when we got into takedown, I lost by submission in the second round. He took me down late or mid-second round, whatever it is, and I wasn't focused. I was thinking about my knee, you know. Right. And that gave him like the opening. Right. To close, and that's all it is at that level, you know. You make one mistake, you're losing the fight. Right. You have that one opening, you take it, you're winning the fight. Absolutely. That was the moment for me. I was thinking about my fight. I was thinking like, oh shit, I don't want to lose in front of all my friends and people. Then I think about my knee. I wasn't focused in the moment. Right. And he locked on the submission, and I got tapped in front of my hometown. Yeah. With all my friends watching, you know. Like for me, that was like, damn, you know. Yeah. I don't know if like you'll ever have to witness that. Have you ever like a jiu-jitsu competition in front of your fans? I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. I you know, and that feeling like, man, I've lost in front of
my entire team,
Yeah.
including all the kids that I taught and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's like a super hard pill to swallow.
For
It's
sure.
like you as much as you don't want it to, you carry some shame with it right after.
For sure, for sure.
But I think for martial artists, it's a really great message for us to stay humble.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because like sometimes, especially when you go into a fight, a healthy ego is a really important part of that. You have to be confident. You have to believe in yourself. You got to belong. You got to feel like you belong there. Those things are good. But then after, sometimes it makes us feel very small, you know, because we put everything into that moment. We put so much power into that moment, you know. But I feel for fighters, it's a really good reminder for us to stay humble. You know what I mean? And just remember, at the end of the day, we're still just people, and we're supposed to have those feelings and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's an important thing to kind of process. Because once you process it, then you remember who you are again. You know, and you start going back in, and you get your mind straight. And you get that healthy ego again, and then you remember you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. That was it for me. Like, you don't have to put so much weight behind like the result of one thing, and what it means to your value as a person. Like, it's just sport. We have to fight another day, you know. Like,
absolutely,
it keeps moving on. Like, the people that love you are not gonna stop loving you because you didn't do well in the tournament.
Absolutely.
Or if you didn't do well in the fight, you know, like that shit is just, it's just a part of the game, you know. It's just experience. Obviously, you never want to lose, and you want to prepare yourself to the best of your abilities. I'm not saying losing is fine. I'm saying you have to prepare yourself.
Yes.
If you're serious about it, you do everything right. And then if you lose, then yeah, fuck it. You know, how do you learn from that and you come back better the next time.
So would you say you're more process-driven than result-driven as an athlete?
I would say so.
It's a learning. It's an experience,
it
right?
is.
You don't start that
Yeah,
way,
no
but
way.
it turns into that.
No way, yeah. I would say so. Like, now, towards the latter half, when the first 5 fights, like, whatever, you know, I only cared about winning.
Yeah.
Because I cared about, like, what people thought of me. You know, like, I don't give a fuck about that no more. Like, I want to do the best that I can do, help people around me, and for me, that's winning, you know, like, whatever it is. Like, at what level you do it, doesn't matter. As long as the people around you are doing good and you're happy, then, bro, fuck it, that's winning.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And I think it's like, we start off, we need to prove a lot to ourselves. And then once we kind of hit that level of self-acceptance, like this is me. And this, although it's a huge part of what I do, it's like, it's still like, it defines us to a huge part of our lives. But we know no one's going to take that from us. Yeah. Because I think in those early days, like when we really have self-doubt, we have those big moments of self-doubt, like you had with the mirror, where you're looking in the mirror and you're like, you were willing to pull the plug in that moment. I think that kind of happens throughout our career anyways. Yeah. But there's always something that kind of brings us back in, you know? Yeah. Which is pretty powerful, you know?
It's cool. That's cool, yeah.
So what happened after that fight with Reese?
Yeah, fuck. So after the fight with Reese, you know, when you fight and you lose a fight, you want to jump back in as soon as possible. Yeah. Kind of like a raise. I don't know, but the doubts or like, you know, like, I don't know, doubts, insecurities, whatever you want to call it. You want to prove that you're better than that, you know. That was me. Like, I knew I was better than what I showed. And I went back into camp not ready because my knee was still hurt. I was like, fuck it. I'll go back into camp. I'll just be careful. And it was fine. And then I got signed to fight Kairat Akhmatov, who was the former champ. He was 27-2 at the time. Kazakh guy, super, super strong wrestler, tough. And that was a great matchup for me because I was a little longer. And I knew I could use my range. And I could, you know, defensive takedowns. And my jiu-jitsu, I felt like I could be a little bit faster than him. So I was super excited about that matchup. Coming off a hometown loss, wanting to prove myself with this guy. And then in practice, I got kicked, like with a leg kick, and my knee just went boom. Yeah. And then I remember sitting on the floor, like holding my knee, like, bro. Started crying, like, what's going on? Like, is this even real? Like, is this a joke? Like, yeah. What am I supposed to do? So after that, I had to really I took like 5 months off. Yeah. Just rehabbing my knee, getting it stronger every day. And then I came back. A couple months later, I got locked in again for this fight in Malaysia. Yeah. And at that time, One Championship was doing this flyweight Grand Prix, like a World Grand Prix. And I never knew about this, but I woke up in the morning to this video. Chatri Sityotong posted. Chatri, like the chairman and the CEO of One Championship, he posted this video of this World Flyweight tournament. 8 guys in it. It was Demetrius Johnson, who I've been like following since I was like 14 years old, whatever, 15 years old. DJ, Adriano Moraes, current champ at the moment. Geihei, who just beat me, is in there. Reese McLaren, who just beat me, he's in there.
Yep.
There's a Japanese guy who's super tough, like a KO guy. Great fight. I would have loved to fight him. And then I see my name in there, but my video in there, like a little highlight in there. I'm like, what the fuck?
Let's go.
In Japan.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, my dream was always like watching Pride.
Yeah.
To go and fight in Japan.
Yeah.
Now this is me, World Grand Prix with Demetrius Johnson, one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
In this tournament, I'm like, I'm fucking stoked. Let's fucking go. You know?
Yeah.
But first I had to fight this fight in Malaysia against this Chinese guy who was pretty tough too. I think he was 11-3, something like that. You know, like Chinese people. My mom's Chinese, so I can say this.
Okay.
Chinese people don't like to lose.
Right.
So I knew that was gonna be a hard fight because this is this jack motherfucker, like hungry.
Yep.
I know he saw me in that tournament. He probably thinking, let me take him out, and he can be jumping in this tournament. So yeah, it was a huge fight for me before this tournament in Japan. And work hard, same thing. Fucking, I haven't fought in like maybe 12 months at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe more. So at the time I wasn't teaching or nothing. I wasn't like doing no PTs because I only wanted to focus on fighting.
Right.
So I just lived on like fight money, which, you know, if you don't fight for a year,
it's gone.
It's gone. You know,
Yeah.
like you can't do that. You know.
Yeah.
Obviously, now I learned like fuck. I should have been teaching some classes or whatever and just saving that. But whatever. You know, like the same thing I learned. I was young. Got into that point, trained hard, put in like an 8-10 week camp. I was feeling good. My knee was hurting a little bit, but enough for me to go fight. You know, I was ready. I was ready for this one. Get in there, the day of weigh-in. I was cutting weight. I was already on weight. This was literally like 30 minutes before the weigh-in.
Yeah.
I get pulled up by Rick, who's one of the directors now at One Championship. It sends me up to, hey, you want to meet me in this business room?
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, business room. Right before the fight, I'm thinking, boom, some sort of jump up, some sort of bonus, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's go. I get in there, he sits me down, he's like, I had my all smiles ready to weigh in, and he goes, hey, we spotted this, something in your scan and your MRI. Unfortunately, we have to pull you from this fight.
Yeah.
And we don't know what this means for your competitive future, your athletic future, but we suggest you go get it checked. And I'm like, what the fuck? I go from me, tournament Japan, fighting home in my hometown, getting ready for this big fight of my life, to that. It was right away, boom. Like, how do you even process that? For me, like...
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow.
For me, like...
a lot of reality.
Like, what do I do? Like,
yeah.
In my head, I knew I wasn't fighting no more. The first thing I did is I went down and ate. I smashed a bunch of food because, you know, I guess...
Yeah.
I guess in a sense, like, that's, like, coping as well. You know,
Yeah.
like, eating food. And that was that. Like, I didn't get the fight. Like, I went to a doctor the next day. 2 days before the fight. It was, like, the biggest and one of the most respectable neurosurgeons at the point in Malaysia. And he cleared me. I showed him the scan. He said, oh, this is a cyst that it's non-invasive. You should be fine to compete. You are fine to compete.
Yeah.
So I sent that back to them, and the whole reason behind this is one got a new medical director, and he made this protocol that if you have a cyst in your brain, no matter how big, how small, where it is, you're not allowed to fight.
Right.
So I wasn't allowed to fight after that.
Yeah.
And then that's how I got into this whole, moved me into coaching, and it wasn't easy, man. It wasn't easy. But like the first 2 years, I'm like, man, what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to figure out what to do. And like, this is me my whole life since I was 13 years old, 15 years old, was trying to be a world champion, you know? Like,
right.
That's the only thing I worked towards. Like,
right.
Now it's taken from me. I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think like all of us as people go through these really defining moments in our life where we kind of start to like have to question everything, especially if something's taken from us that really, like we were talking about, a big part of what defines you, who you are, was those fights, you know? A lot of what helped you build your character and the person you are today came from those fights.
Yeah,
and now you need to find like another avenue to fill that part of yourself with, you know? Yeah. So from what I know about you, I imagine it went into two directions, and this happens for most fighters. It either goes into coaching or being involved in the sport in one way. And this is also when you started commentating, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know me, man, like, I'm not going to sit around and just wait, you know? I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry, you know? Like, I want to go out and make something myself. So when I couldn't fight no more, I was pestering them. Like, I messaged Chatri because we went to this retreat in Boracay where they flew us all down and, like, gave us a talk. And he gave us that number at the time. Like, hey, if you need anything, but make sure it's like something important.
Yeah.
I'll be there for you.
Yeah.
So I took that, I had to hit him up. Like, he actually sent me a message first, like, oh, hey, I found out about your situation. So sorry. Let me figure out what we can do. Like, he was actually real cool about it. I really respect Chatri for that.
Yeah.
And I hit him up. I was like, hey, man, like, I don't know what. I've already been cleared by multiple neurosurgeons and doctors.
Yeah.
But you guys are not allowing me to compete. Like, if you're not allowing me to compete, can you, in the meantime, let me do something else? I've been watching fights since I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
I fought this many fights, I've been training people. Like, I train, like, some guys. Like, I know what I'm talking about a little bit. If you give me a chance, I'd like to do some commentary.
Right.
And that's how the door opened for me. I had to send through, like, audition tapes to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I sent them, like, audio tapes with, like, clips of, like, fights. And I did that for, like, 3-4 months, but they never, like, gave me a job, which, I understand I'm young.
Yeah.
At that point, I was 26 years old. Like, who's commentating when they're 26 years old for one championship?
Right.
Nobody,
Yeah.
But then the opportunity came up. But my brother fought in Jakarta.
So you got to commentate when your brother fought in Jakarta.
Right. So it was a one show in Jakarta, and Michael Chavello, who's like, he's the man.
Yeah.
Chavello's the man. Like, you ever watch Chavello commentate, you're hyped.
Yeah,
He's
for
like
sure.
the guy. He's commentated Pride fights, K1 World Max fights.
Yep.
Like, all the big Dream fights, like all the big fights that I watched, Chavello's been a part of. And he got sick at the time. And Bo, the director, VP of production, I might be getting that title wrong, so don't be mad at me. Bo's a great guy. I love Bo. He's from Denver. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever met Bo. He's a super nice guy. But besides the point, Bo came up to me. He's like, hey, you said you wanted to try out commentating. Chavello got sick tonight. We sent him to the hospital. Might need you to fill in for the prelims.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be down?
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not thinking this is me, like, being hungry, saying,
Right.
yes, I hear commentary, now, yes. You
Yeah.
know? That's how my brain works.
Yeah.
I take this gig. I had no suit. I had no shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had, like, Vans or something on. And they pull up Raz. Raz is, like, in charge of, like, the production inside the arena, the lighting and everything, the sound. He lets me wear his suit. And then my pants is, like, I was literally falling off my waist.
Yeah.
Because I got small waist, I'm not the biggest guy from the waist. I don't know why I have a small waist, but my waist. Why don't we talk about this? Anyways, my pants was falling down.
Yeah.
And never commentated live ever.
Yeah.
Here I am, like, again, run through this event. And, I got to commentate Yushin Okami's fight, bro.
Oh, no way.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I commentated all these prelim fights. Was sick. I thought, obviously, I could have done better because it was my first time commentating
Of course.
live ever.
Yeah.
But I think I had some good moments. But my brother fought in the same time, same night. And I've told the story a few times now, but my brother was fighting this Japanese guy from Kid Yamamoto's gym.
Okay. Yeah.
Tough gym. You knew it was going to be a tough fight, but my brother looked sharp before the fight because I met him up. We were training. I wasn't training with him. He was training in Malaysia with Conrado
Mm-hmm.
and Bruninho and all the boys over there, Aguilan. And I saw him during fight week because I flew in to, like, help corner him.
Right.
I've always been in my brother's corner and he's always been in mine
Yeah.
because we know each other so well. And, we have that trust
Yeah.
for sure, right? Go in there. He's looking sharp. So I knew it was going to be in good hands. Conrado was there. My dad was there. Mike was there as well because he was there with Irene,
Mm-hmm.
cornering her. So I said, all right, I got this opportunity. Let me go do this commentary thing. He's like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
So I'm like gassing my brother up. He's walking down. Telling me, Gianni Subba, like, one of the most talented featherweights in the division. He was. Like, all his fights were first round finishes.
Yeah, for sure.
He's a madman.
He's a beast.
He's a beast. His jiu-jitsu is fucking getting so good.
Next level.
So smart now, the way he thinks, the way he fights. He said, like, he told me he was going to finish him with a left head kick and let's see if it happens,
Yeah.
See him walks out. He's just like, he's fighting so well this fight.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched this fight, but he's the best he ever looked. He was landing everything. Boom.
Mm.
Right hand, left kick, right hand, left kick. Punch it to the body, jabs. He's moving well, looking the best he's ever looked. And then, bam, throws his inside leg kick. Boom. And then he breaks his fibula and tibia.
Yeah.
And I see him plant on it. I see his leg go. And I see it happening. I've seen it in YouTube clips.
Yeah.
So I understood what was happening. But Mitch, I don't think he realized what was happening because I was commentating with Mitch at the time. He's like, oh, I think he hurt his ankle, whatever. And then they stopped the fight. So the only way this Japanese guy could have won, and obviously I'm biased, and I'll say this to the day that I die.
Yeah.
The only day he could have won was by that. My brother hurt himself, punching him or kicking him.
Right.
And that happened.
Yeah.
And he was over there celebrating like he beat the fight. For me, like when I saw it, I was like, man, this motherfucker. You know, like,
yeah.
Obviously that's my brother and he's in pain. Like this guy's celebrating.
Yeah.
As again, his ass whooped and didn't do shit.
Yeah.
So like, when it was happening, I was like this the whole time. My hands was in my mouth. Like I couldn't like, I think like, Mitch was asking me questions. I don't know if I even replied.
Yeah.
The whole thing was insane, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And then I saw my brother get stretched out. I knew same thing. I knew my brother, my dad, and Mike was with him in Colorado, so he's gonna be all good.
Yeah.
Had to sit back down, and Rick came up to me again. He's like, "Hey, I know that must be very hard for you, but we need you to finish this job here."
Yeah.
Because Chevello's not gonna make his way back, it seems.
Yeah.
So I was only supposed to do the prelims.
Right.
Now I did the whole show.
Now you did the whole show.
And the main event was this world title fight.
Yeah.
Between John Haggerty and Sam Yangadao, who's like one of the best Muay Thai fighters of all time.
Yeah.
And I got to like commentate that fight, which was crazy, man.
I imagine, again, this me knowing you as well, like all that fight experience you had probably helped you prepare for a moment like that as well, where it's like, obviously you're in a lot of pain and very, I'm sure, concerned about your brother, but because you have this strong martial arts mindset, you're able to focus and perform. And I think that's a lot comes with like any sort of athlete, is that ability to perform through stressful situations and still manage to keep it together. So it's like, I mean, it's a real reflection to how strong like your mindset is, you know, because of martial arts. So I think that's like something kind of real special that came away from a really like awful situation, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like a cool reflection of like how strong you are at the end of the day. You have a very strong mindset, you know.
You know, when I think about that,
yeah,
I don't think about me at all.
Yeah.
When I think about that whole like situation, I think about how fucking strong my brother is.
Yep.
And I saw like the path that he took to get back into where he is now.
Yep.
Just like, it's so.
He's inspiring.
He's super inspiring, man. He like woke up at 5 a.m. every day, was doing his rehab, just pushing it hard every day. Like, man, like you couldn't stop him, you know. Like he knew what he was doing. Getting back into there was his only mission, you know. Like, yeah, like he was in pain and whatever, but just focused, you know. Focused no matter the circumstances. Like, man, like that's when I think about that situation, and how much better it made him as a person.
Yep.
That's what I think about when I think about that situation.
Yep. Let's talk more about Team Subba, because I love your brother. So let's gas up your brother a little bit.
Let's gas him up, yeah.
So just tell me about this experience, like what it was like having a brother fighting alongside with you, and what that, because like I mean you guys fought on the same card, you know, that, and like just kind of having someone along for that journey with you, and like especially it being family, you know.
Yeah. What can I say, man? Like I have a paid training partner 24/7. You know, he's one of the guys. Always wants to do extra.
Yes.
Always pushing me when I feel like you know, whatever, you know, let me chill a little bit. He's like, let's get another workout in.
Yeah.
But how do we do it smarter? Like, what do we need to work on? Look at ourselves. You break it down as honest as possible. Like, no bullshit. You not that great at this. Let's work on this. You need to work on that. Let's work on that. Like, I need to work on this. Can you help me work on that? Like, that's what was the most valuable part of having him.
Right.
And at one point when I was training in Thailand, he was training at Tiger and I was training at Top Team.
Yeah.
So we were both learning different things. And we got to like come together and like put it all together, you know. So I was always super grateful and super lucky to have my brother come with me. Fighting professionally is another thing, you know, like we're both like having fights together at the same time, so we go through the same process, you know.
Yeah.
And we get to like talk to each other about it and experience it at the same time. It's crazy, man. Like I'm super grateful for it. Not easy.
Yep.
Not easy, especially fighting when you're so used to like having your brother in your corner.
Yeah.
And you being in your brother's corner, to have both of us fighting at the same time is nerve-wracking. Because I usually fought after him. So I would have to like watch him prepare, let him go out there and like believe that he's gonna do his thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then kind of have to keep myself cool and not think about that. Stay focused on the task ahead.
Yeah. That
was the hardest part. But the experience of me, like one of my favorite fights ever, is with Ian. I don't know if you were there, but Ian was there. It was when I fought this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, the guy like the boxer.
I don't know. We were probably working together at the time, but I don't know if I went with you. Yeah. I think I didn't get to go on that trip. I remember the one though. Yeah.
And he had just fought for the title.
Yeah.
He lost this decision, but he dropped the champ, you know.
Yeah.
The second round. So I thought, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a scrap. And my brother was fighting this Pakistani guy, which I thought my brother was better anyway, so I wasn't too worried. But in the fight, like he almost got caught in the heel hook.
Yeah, I remember that. I was freaking out.
Super tight heel hook,
Yeah.
and he was like bending he was like going all out for it, you know. 'cause,
Yeah.
you know, my brother's good,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you got a motherfucker going 100% at you.
Yeah.
Some might hurt, you know.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, oh man, he got put in this dangerous position.
Yeah.
Got out and finished him in the first round. After that, it was cool, you know, like, oh, cool. Like, forget that. You know, he did well. I got to focus on me. I fought this hard fight against this Brazilian guy. Went 3 rounds. I broke my hand in that fight. But I fought really well. Like, I was really happy with the way I moved and the way, like, I paced that fight. Because obviously you want to finish the fight, but against a guy that was that tough, like, no matter what I hit him with, I don't think he would have went down, you know.
Yeah.
So I won a decision. And after that, I remember walking out, and I knew my hand was broken. Or whatever, you know, I had adrenaline. And I walk out the cage, and I walk down and see my brother. I'm like, oh, there's a picture of me like this, and my brother's like, yeah, you know?
Yeah.
And Ian's over there. Ian's like yelling.
Oh, yeah, I remember the photo.
Yeah,
Even.
yeah.
I know the one.
Fletcher was over there, too.
I'm going to find it.
Yeah, Donnie, like, Semper, all those guys were there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, to me, like, one of my favorite fights. Like
That's
all
awesome.
our hard work kind of, like, validated in that moment, you know? Like,
Yeah.
walking down, like, all this work we put in. Like, I love that moment.
That's awesome, man. Like,
Yeah.
especially, like, being successful together with your family, it's, like, a powerful thing, you know?
It's sick, man. That was pretty cool.
Something else I wanted to talk to you about, which I've always loved about Team Subba, was the kukris on the banner and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about the Gurkha background you guys have and, like, what that means to you and where that comes from and everything?
Yeah, so my dad is Nepalese. My mom's Malaysian. And my grandpa was a major in the army. He fought for the British in Malaya against the Japanese in Borneo. And yeah, my dad used to always tell me how my grandpa got this, like, the traditional, like, tap tattoos.
Yeah.
I never got to really remember my grandpa because he passed away when I was fairly young. But I always, like, carried that with me and my brother with pride, you know, like, oh, my grandpa used to always have this photo of him with, like, all his medals, like, you know, just looking fly, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know, like, that's our lineage, you know. We got to, like, live up to that.
Yeah.
So I think when we fight, we have, like, that sense of, like, that, you know, the Gurkha, like, the banner is better to die than to be a coward, you know.
Yeah.
And for us, like, when we go in there, like, yeah, no matter who you are, we gotta fight and see who's better, you know. Like, that's why we're here for. At the end of the day, we want to see man versus man. When you get in there, I train my best, you train your best.
Yeah.
Who comes out on top? So that's like the mentality when we go in there, you know.
Yeah.
That's that. Like, the kukri is, like, obviously, like, the symbol, you know, like the sword.
Yeah.
Like the bladed sword, the curved sword. That was like, that's our weapon when you go in there. You know, like these are our weapons when you go in there. We carry that. So we carry that with a lot of pride.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, like, for people that don't know, like, the Gurkhas from Nepal, they were, like, a really, like, fierce, brave group of you know, fighters that were fighting in the war. And, like, yeah, like, having your guys' war cry on the banner, it's just, like, such a powerful thing. It says so much about, like, how it ties back into, like, your guys' fighting spirit and stuff. You find that true, that like, some of that help define your mindset in some way?
For sure. Especially in fighting, you know, when you're fighting, I feel like you have to have an alter ego. Like, you're not who you are. Like, now we're chilling, but when you're competitive, when you're competing, you almost got to be a different animal.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal to try to elbow somebody until they're unconscious.
Yeah.
It's not normal to want to, like, snap somebody's arm, you know?
Yep.
But in the heat of the battle, that is what's required of you.
Yes.
You kind of have to, like, turn that mode, you know? For me, like, whenever I fought, I'm a different person, you know?
For sure.
When my brother fights, he's a different person. When
Yeah,
you compete,
100%.
you're a different person, you know? But it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just, you got to channel your energy towards victory. And what's the method of victory allowed in that certain rule set? You work within those barriers. That's what you got to do.
100%. It's a skill in a sense to, like, hone in on that side of yourself, that fighting persona that you really need to and it, like, that takes years to develop and refine and stuff. I feel like throughout your career it goes through waves too, because maybe, like, what you were fighting for changes. You know what I mean? You see that happen a lot. We used to talk about this quite a lot back in the day, actually. Early in fighter careers, sometimes they're more finishers, because they're fighting against something that, like, happened in their life, and they're, like, working through the trauma or whatever it is of, like, what happened in their past.
Yeah.
And they're processing, right? And they're using fighting as the vehicle to process that trauma or the hard memories or whatever it is, you know? But then at some point they start working through that stuff, and then they stop finishing because they have to find a new thing to fight for. You know what I mean? And they go through this like adaptation in their mindset where it's like, now I'm fighting for other reasons.
Interesting.
And then they kind of like go up again. I've seen this happen. I've had this conversation with a few other professional fighters, and like, again, being ready to kind of adapt and build with your mindset to grow as an athlete and stuff like that is sometimes part of the process. Did you ever experience anything like that?
No. I mean, I was fairly young when I started fighting professionally.
Yeah.
I was 19 years old when I fought for one. And, you know, like, again, my only goal was to try to be a world champion.
Yeah.
So I was always hungry.
Yeah.
Obviously, the guys I started to fight were a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
So it was harder to get first round finishes. Not because, like, I wasn't prepared, but
Yeah.
the guys are prepared, too.
For sure.
And guys are hungry at that point, you know. Like, people are willing to give their fucking life at that point. So I don't think my goal changed for me.
Yeah.
My goal was always the same. Like, I never had that problem. But fuck, maybe who knows? If I was still fighting now,
Yeah.
maybe it would have changed for me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I never got to.
It's like that voice in your head that
Yeah.
tells you to keep going. You know what I mean? It's like everyone I've ever talked to that's been like a successful professional athlete or just successful athletes in general always have that very like strong voice in the head that pushes them through those hard moments. You know?
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing.
For sure.
Forgot where I was going with this. Full pause. Where did I want to go from here? I wanted to ask you about pre-fight rituals. Do you have any pre-fight rituals that are something that you do, or even part of your training today that you have like pre-fight rituals that you could share with people?
Pre-fight rituals. I got into meditating and visualizing a lot from my brother. Because my brother got into visualizing and meditating, even breath work, actually. Like I said, man, he's a legend.
He's on it.
He does everything.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do, the guy's on it. So he got me into like visualizing and meditating. And I think it helped, you know, for me. My last couple of fights, I visualized from the walkout to the crowd to, you know, walking up the stairs and like the smell of the leather of the gloves, you know. Like he got me into like visualizing that and walking out with that. Like I always did that before. And I think it helped me like stay a little bit more calm before I walked out.
It's like you're mentally preparing for the process.
Yeah, for the process of it. The goal is the same.
Right.
We're fighting another guy. I've done it many times. But it's the environment. It's the energy. It's the lights. It's the sound. It's the noise, you know. Walking out. Even in the smells, you know.
Yeah.
You got to get like conditioned to that. So then you can stay focused on your task. Which is cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the breath work.
Breath work. You know how they say, well, it is in studies, you have to get into your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
For your heart rate to slow down after you train.
Yeah.
So when we train and after we train, our heart is still in the fight mode.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go back to the chill and relax. That's how you recover better. And for me, like I learned that through breath work with my brother, you know.
Yeah.
Taking those like belly breaths instead of like breathing with your lungs and your diaphragm. Like use more of your belly to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it helped me a lot. I think it helps you with meditation as well. It helps you like calm your mind to be in the present, not focus so much about what's going on, which is really crucial. Man. Like so many things happening around us all the time. Like sometimes you forget to just be in the moment.
Just sit.
Just sit and be in the moment.
Yeah, man. That's great. So do you still practice meditation, or was that only something you did during camp?
I haven't done meditation and breath work in a long time, to be honest. I should. Looking at what I'm doing now, like I'm so here, there, next thing, there, next thing, you know, that I think it would be really helpful for me. But no, I only did it in camps, and I need to do it more. This is like kind of like a reminder to how I felt and how I want to feel. But you know how you get distracted, man. Like, especially because you know you're so busy running your gym and you're doing like so many other different things for people.
Yeah.
You want that time for yourself as well. Like, you gotta try to fit that time in.
Yeah, self-care. You got to get in there and do it for Gianni.
I'm the worst, man. I'm the worst. I'm always like, what do you need? Got you. What do you need? Got you. You know, I never like, what do I need? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to take those moments to pause and collect,
sure,
you know. I'm the same, man. I get really busy sometimes and I forget to do my meditation practice and stuff, but even taking like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, something to at least get it in, I know it always kind of really helps me just to know that.
It feels so much better, man.
Yeah.
It feels so much better.
But yeah, it takes time, you know, and it gets busy. I mean, you're busy with something really cool right now. Can you tell me a little bit about Soma Fight Club?
Yes, so So we opened up Soma Fight Club. Actually, we left. Well, we'll talk about that.
You can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, well, me, Mike, and Adam McCasey, Mike Ikile, Adam McCasey, we opened up Soma Fight Club about sometime in February of 2021. We didn't officially open until September 1st, but yeah, we opened up a gym catered towards striking at the moment. Obviously now with yourself, we got a specialized coach in jiu-jitsu, but we really want to focus on having like a 360 approach to training. You know, we have a lifting area, we have a recovery area with ice bath, sauna, we have facilities that, you know, which is everything you need to fight and train, you know, and then recover within that the same
space.
Same space, yeah. That's why we opened it for. And obviously, we wanted to grow the sport of, not the sport, but whole martial arts in Indonesia. We want to open doors like locally for guys to have events to fight on, which is what we've been doing more. Like I think we're on our 4th show now, and every show we have at least 10 local fighters on it.
Yeah.
So we want to grow and have a door for people to compete. That's the biggest thing we see in Indonesia at the moment. Yeah, there's one Pride doing it. There's other small shows, but in Bali itself, there's not many other shows hosting and organizing fights at a high level. Even amateur fights as well, but for professional fights as well.
Yeah, it's
to get
true.
people like excited about the sport, you know, and then the younger kids will want to do it, and then we'll have Indonesian champions. You know, we're trying to grow it from the bottom up.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that's something really special that you guys are doing is you're also operating as a fight promotion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like a very professional fight promotion as well, which is something we haven't had here in Bali before. So I think you guys are I mean, it's really kind of almost like a historic thing in the fight world, you know what I mean? Like this next fight that you guys are having, it's both kickboxing and MMA as well.
Yes. So, well, obviously we got to talk about how the whole team has been running those shows, like Adam, Bara, Victor, Mike, you know, everybody who's been in charge of Wally as well. Everyone's been in charge of the fight nights have done such a good job. Even until like the kitchen staff and like everyone cleaning.
Yeah.
Have done it so well. Putu who was our manager. She just left actually recently to open up her own Ayam Bakar shop in Denpasar.
Oh, amazing.
Called Ayam Bakar Kita, so you gotta check that one out.
Yep.
Yeah, they've done such a good job of making it such a professional environment where it's cool, you know, it's not gritty, it's not dirty. You come in and the fights are great, you know.
Yeah.
We match them up really well. Obviously, once in a while there'll be some mismatches. There's nothing you can do, you know. Like there's some good guys and some guys are not as ready on the level, you know.
Yeah.
But to go from that to now going into our 4th show with now we're gonna host some MMA fights with kickboxing. We're doing a 4-man tournament on the same night. Like we flew in 3 guys who've had a lot of experience, and we also have Brown, who's European champion as well. Fights for 1 championship, who's just an animal fighting for this tournament belt, which is a sick belt. It's gonna be sick. I'll show you the photo later.
Awesome.
Yeah, 4-man 1-night tournament, so they get to fight twice in one night. We'll have some MMA fights. It's the first of its kind in Indonesia.
Yeah, it's amazing, huh?
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be knowing that you're probably putting on the first legit MMA fights in Bali? It's like the first ever.
Yeah, wow, it is actually, huh?
Yeah, because there's never been
Nah.
a professionally ran MMA show here that has MMA and kickboxing.
You're right.
So it's the
Oh
first
my
ever
goodness.
MMA fights in Bali.
Oh my goodness, this is history.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, huh?
It's pretty crazy. But again, yeah, we want to open the door, you know? We want to open the door. That's why we opened up the gym.
Yeah.
Give people a world-class training facility, world-class coaches, world-class everything you need there. We got a cafe that's so good. It's even on Gojek now. And then now we run those shows where people can come and fight. So now we can, what we want is to have Bali to be a destination for people to come train like Phuket.
Absolutely.
And we don't, obviously, yeah, we want the gym to be successful and we have the facility and the staff to do that. But more than anything, we want the area to be a place where people can come and we can share that passion and the love for the sport here in Bali.
Yes.
Because Phuket's amazing. Phuket is beautiful. They have the culture of Muay Thai. The food's amazing. The people are nice. You know, there's so many like beautiful things about Phuket, but there's so many beautiful things about Bali as well.
Absolutely.
And that's why we love living here. You know, we want to like bring people in and showcase that nature and the beauty and everything that's great about Bali here,
Yeah.
but give them fights as well.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're excited about.
And like what I love, and like I don't think everyone knows about like destination gyms, and I think it's really kind of something special. You and I
Yeah.
actually kind of have a similar experience, which is like we got exposed to like early social media of like Tiger and Phuket
Yeah,
Top Team,
yeah.
and we're like, man, I would love to go on this big adventure to like another country
Right.
that I've never been to,
Yeah.
and now while I'm there, I can train martial arts. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? I can work on kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, you know,
Yeah.
you name it, nogi, you know,
Yeah.
get in there and just and get to train and like experience the lifestyle.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like for me that was a big thing. Like I went to Thailand, I got to experience the lifestyle of what it was to be like a professional athlete,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
professional fighter. So now you get to kind of do that yourself and like talk about let's talk more about like why Bali is such a great destination if you want to experience like the fighter's lifestyle.
Well, I think first off, you got to talk about the beauty.
Mm.
Look at the area we're in now. You talk about Canggu, the area where Rituals is, where Soma is, where Bali MMA is. It's, I'll talk about Bali MMA. I know that we'll never talk about this. You know,
Yep.
whatever, you know. There's so many beautiful beaches within a 15-minute drive.
Yep.
There's Omans, there's Echo Beach, there's Brawa.
Yeah.
So many beautiful beaches. There's restaurants there's so many expats here. You gotta look at the expat community where there's so many of us here. The restaurants are at such a high level.
Yeah.
The food is amazing here. It's not too expensive. Accommodation is fairly affordable. You can get a scooter for less than $100, something like that.
Yeah.
It's insane. And you can travel around Bali. Bali, you can take a boat. You can go out to Gili. You go to Lombongan. You can go out to all these other different beautiful islands. It's amazing. Come on, you gotta come check it out. Like I'm hyping it up. I'm not even hyping it up. It's real. Like,
Yeah.
that's why we live here, and that's why so many people are living here.
There's something too about like being in an environment that's so inspiring. Like when you kind of get switched on into like I'm gonna call it wanderlust mode, where you're kind of like wandering around
Yeah.
and you're really switched on. You're super stimulated.
Yeah.
And you're open and like you're in this like great state of mind, and now you want to go apply something that you're really passionate about, like jiu-jitsu or boxing or kickboxing, MMA, you
Yeah.
name it. You can apply that now to that environment.
And you have more fun.
So, and you grow, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna grow in that environment. Like you're having a great time. You're around people you enjoy. You're on this adventure, you know. And I think that's like a really important thing that I know. Like early on for me, it was a big takeaway for me. You know, was like I now get to experience this lifestyle. And for some people, that lifestyle changes. I know for you and I, it did. Like
Yeah.
we love Bali. We love the lifestyle of Bali. And part of what makes this lifestyle really amazing to us is we get to do our passion here. We get to practice martial arts at a high level. You know what I mean? Like the martial arts community here in Bali is small, but it's great to have this community here because it kind of makes it work for us. You know what I mean? And like to see it growing over the last, 5-7 years has been incredible. You know?
Yeah, man. Like you said, like there's so many great martial artists coming in as well. Like obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's so many Gracies coming in every year just to be a part of this. There's a surf culture.
Yeah.
There's that lifestyle. You go out, you have fun, a couple beers at the beach, then you still train. It's a destination gym. I think with all of us coming together, it's going to be more and more space for that. And I think everyone's going to get better from it.
Absolutely. I'm excited to watch it keep growing.
Yeah,
you know?
me too, man. Me too. It's special.
So now that you're a coach and you're kind of taking that role as a coach too, and you got your own gym, you got your own team you're building, is there anything that you've taken away from your experience as a professional fighter that you want them to know that you can share with them and kind of give them some insight as they kind of start their journey into being a pro?
Yeah, man. Like I learned. I don't know. For me, like I held the stand. I keep the standards so high for myself that because I know what it takes to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
The standard is really high for me. That's why when we have the team sometimes with the younger guys, I'm super strict with them.
Yeah.
Like it's not that I'm mean, but it's just I know what's required. And if you don't give me that, it's not going to make me happy,
Right.
And it's not enough for me. So for me, I feel like I want to let them know right away, like this is not an easy path, number one.
Yep.
Number two, the reality of it is you're probably not going to make a lot of money for a while.
Yep.
If any, ever at all, And number three is you got to be consistent. You got to be dedicated to it, not just to yourself and your training, but your team that is around you, because you know, you're responsible for them as well, because we're trying to grow a team that is fairly young. We need everyone to put in the effort. You know, that's how we all get better. You know, you're only stronger. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if one guy's slacking, then maybe, you know, I have a professional guy here looking at this guy, thinking he don't take it seriously. How can I say that I'm running a professional team? You know.
Yep.
I can't. You know, I gotta keep that standard high. So that's one thing we're really happy about at the moment. We keep the standard pretty high. The problem with us right now is, unfortunately, the borders aren't open, so we can't get as much world-class training, not world-class training, but world training, that level of training partner in at the moment for our, like, world-level guys.
Right.
But our grassroots guys are growing. Everyone's getting so much better. Fortunately, now we have a couple guys that are at that level for our Browns and Bellas who can now compete against each other and keep getting better, you know.
Yep.
But obviously, with the borders open, for sure, we're going to see a big influx of people coming in, and that's going to help us get better. But for now, with what we have, we're building a very strong team. And I'm happy with how everyone's, like, coming together and, like, growing together.
Right.
That's been, like, a very special thing for me to see.
Absolutely. It's cool because it's keeping the community more tight-knit. Like, for people that don't know, like, Bali is probably, like, one of the #1 tourist destinations in the world. We get, like, over 1 million visitors a year normally, like, pre-COVID. So now that we're in COVID, obviously those numbers have dropped significantly, you know? Yeah. But we still have this great community here that does love martial arts and wants to be involved in combat sports. And but, yeah, and you're right. Like, we kind of make the best of who's around and who's here. And it's what it's done, and it's kind of nice, because it's a new team that's forming. It's creating all these tight bonds right away, where we get a little bit more time with everyone, where it's not kind of like, I don't want to call it a distraction, but it's the people coming in and out all the time that would maybe take more of our attention.
For sure.
And now we get to do what we want to do, which is, like, focus more on local athletes and focus more on the people that live here and all this stuff. And really build a strong community and foundation of what our team's going to be in a couple years. You know, and I think that's something that people don't necessarily see when they first, like, want to start competing, because they're still opening their minds to it, you know. But we understand it's a long journey. For them, they're like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to fight and I'm going to be good. You know what I mean? So it's like, but we see the value in, like, time. You know what I mean? What we got from these guys is, like, lots of raw potential. And we get to, like, feed into that potential and help them grow. You know.
It's cool, man. It's a cool journey, and it's cool that you yourself have gone through that whole process, and now you can watch people and guide them through that process, you know, because you know how much jiu-jitsu has given you and where it's gone you today. Imagining you handing this knowledge to another guy who will potentially branch out and do his own thing and be happy like that, you know. That's cool.
Absolutely. You know, it's like, and martial arts is a very personal thing. I think that's easy for people to figure it about sometimes. You know, it's like, I'm teaching you something very personal that's been about my experience, and I want to share that with you. So it's like, it's a really powerful thing when someone receives that really well. I think that's what kind of makes, like, a good student sometimes too, is how receptive they are to, like, the knowledge you're trying to pass on to them, you know? So it's a special thing, you know? And that doesn't happen every day. Like, what's something you do that when you have a fighter that's, like, maybe, like, a little bit stubborn or not as open-minded to, like, your way of doing things? Maybe they had a different method before, and now they have to open up to your experience. Like, what's something you do to try to reach somebody like that?
Yeah, that's hard.
It's hard, right?
Because some guys are so set in their ways that no matter how you approach it, they still won't move, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously you want to show them that the way you do that is you have guys in the gym that are in the system and they believe in the system, you know, guys that are more experienced, and you see them kind of, like, remove your ego and be like, hey, we're here. These guys are here for us. They listen to us. We give their trust to us. And if a guy like that can listen to us and benefit and grow from that, that should inspire the other guys to listen and follow as well. So you need guys with more experience as well to be, like, team leaders as well. You know, you have coaches on one thing, but people get more inspired from the people they're training with, you know?
Yeah.
So you have guys in front that lead the way with us, like our system, and you let them grow, and you let them lead their way and believe, like, look, I want to be like that guy. What are they doing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's the best way for me. Like, I don't think, like, going out and speaking to them, hey, forget that, do this. Forget that, do this, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, martial arts is, for the most part, you obviously, like they say, you want to take the parts that work, but respect the parts that don't. But still try it, you know?
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, that shit won't work. I'm not going to try it. And that limits you as a martial artist. You know, closing your mind is not the best way to learn, you know.
Right.
Sometimes you got to go through it and be like, okay, you know, I tried it. Might not work for me, but now at least in whatever situation, if I need it, I know there's that option, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so good, man. And it's such like an important lesson to remember to stay teachable. You know what I mean? Like, especially as you see people get later in their careers too, like they feel like they're mastering it. They got their own method, which in some respects they do. But then, like, I know even my pitfalls too in my own jiu-jitsu journey, where sometimes it was like, I got this. I don't need to look at this area anymore. I don't need to work on this.
Right.
And then like a couple months goes by, a couple years go by, I'm like, did he just pass my guard?
Yeah.
Did I just get swept, or like, you know, did I get submitted there? I'm like, I never get submitted there. Why is that happening? You know, and it's like, and that's my ego.
Right.
You know, so it's something you always kind of got to like dial back and remember always be a student. You know.
Yeah, man. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like it's such a humbling thing. Like no matter how good you are, one person might get you in a position when, you know, you weren't ready. Like you're overconfident, and now you gotta like take yourself 2 steps back. You know, and be like, okay, he got me. Then maybe I need more work in this area. You know.
Yep.
Versus like obviously you get to that point from a lot of experience. You don't get to that point as a white belt, blue belt.
Yep.
Someone gets you like fuck, I'm gonna get him back. You know.
Yep.
Even now, you know, like you still get that feeling, but. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu so much. It's such a problem-solving
100%
martial art, you know? Like, you gotta, like, okay, he's stopping me from passing this way. How can I redirect him and go back to the same place, but with a different approach, you know?
Yeah.
I love that about jiu-jitsu.
What do you think is the biggest differences between training jiu-jitsu for fighting and for sport?
Bro, this is huge because for me in my whole life, ever since I was, you know, ever since I decided I was going to fight, I only did jiu-jitsu for MMA.
Yeah.
I only thought of it as, okay, I need this for MMA.
Yeah.
I never saw jiu-jitsu as its own sport.
Yeah.
Until I stopped fighting MMA. And then my brother was like, yo, let's start working on this. Let's start working on guard passing. Let's start working on, you know, a step back sweep, you know, a step back pass, you know, and your Z guard, your reverse de la Hiva. It's like, bro, I never use these.
Yeah.
I would never use them in MMA, you know, because, you know, and
you're going to get hit.
you're going to get hit. You know, that's the reality of it. You got to use your jiu-jitsu for MMA versus your jiu-jitsu for sport. It's such a different thing. But it kind of made me have more respect for jiu-jitsu because it's such an art. There's so many different positions and areas that you have to master to work through, you know, to be skilled enough to a certain degree, you know. You got to have so much knowledge to be like from white belt to blue belt to purple to brown belt. It's like so much knowledge.
Yeah.
And I really like got more respect for jiu-jitsu after that. When I had to like break it down and be like, okay, jiu-jitsu as a sport itself. Jiu-jitsu as a sport itself. Like, what do I need to do to get better at that, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but my brother, again, fucking legend.
Yeah.
Brought me back into that, so I got to give my brother credit for that.
Absolutely. So is there any advice you give someone that's like, because again, I think it's understanding the difference between those two are super important, knowing the difference between sports jiu-jitsu and like MMA friendly jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give? Like, say someone doesn't have a good coach around and maybe they're just only showing, like, how do they start telling the difference? Where's a good way for them to get insight? Like, what would you say made it more clear for you?
What the standout clear thing was getting punched in the head. You know?
Yep.
Getting punched right in the nose. You know, realize right away maybe De La Hiva is not the best one for MMA. You know?
Yep.
Obviously, it can still work, but punches to the head. You know, jiu-jitsu traditionally was a self-defense martial art, so there's a lot of like self-defense aspects to it. But in the MMA jiu-jitsu, it's more raw. You know, you control different ways. Like you got to think about controlling and stopping someone from punching you versus like, okay, I just grab an underhook and I'll wait here and try to off balance him and maybe I get underneath or maybe I come back forward, you know.
Yeah.
The kazushis and stuff like that. Like in MMA is different. In MMA you got to be more set, you know. You got to make sure you cover in like little areas so you don't get elbowed in the head because that shit hurts.
Yeah, it does.
That shit hurts.
Absolutely. And I think it's good for people to know the difference. So I think that sometimes there's a misconception in the jiu-jitsu community that like just sports jiu-jitsu guys are prepared to defend themselves against punches and stuff, and they're not.
They're not. Trust me, like a black belt versus a MMA black belt, two different things.
100%.
I'm not saying one's better than the other, but one will be more equipped for each different scenario.
Yep.
You can't throw a sports jiu-jitsu guy into MMA and versus like you throw an MMA guy who's a black belt into a jiu-jitsu tournament with gloves.
Yep.
You know, not one is better than the other.
Yep.
You're just more equipped for different scenarios.
Absolutely. Well, hey man, this has been great. Is there anything? How can people reach you? How do people get in touch with you?
I'm on social media. It's just my name, Gianni Subba.
Yeah. Instagram.
Facebook.
All those things.
All those things.
The reluctant Facebook.
Yeah.
What about the gym? How do they get in touch with Soma
Fight
Club?
Yeah, Soma Fight Club. You can find us on Instagram as well. The website is just coming up. Obviously come check us out. We're a new gym. We have facility where we think it's world class. We have great trainers. We have a great environment where I really like the community that we have. It's not, you come in and everyone's cool. Everyone's trying to get better. Everyone's hungry. And we are growing a fight team here that I think is going to be big. We have world level guys. Like Brown just fought for a world title recently. We're getting them fights over here in Bali. So we want to create, same thing when we're running shows about every 5 to 6 weeks. So we want people to come in here to Bali, train, and then have that fighting experience potentially. Like that was the draw for people going to Phuket as well. You can train. Now I get to fight. Like not many people get the chance to fight. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like that experience of fighting. I always tell people, even once in your life, going in there, even if it's just a boxing fight, amateur fight, 2-minute round, whatever it is, and really like putting yourself through that.
Yep.
There's no experience like it.
Amazing.
You gotta try it out. Come check us out. Obviously, check out Rituals Jiu Jitsu as well. One of the best black belts on the island. Wizard. Happy to be part of this show, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.